Today, we're going to go from autopilot to align, how mindful leaderships can start with identity. Our guest, Dr. Andrea Gleim, helps high achievers escape survival mode and lead with authentic, empowered presence. Now, I'd like to give a big thanks to our sponsors, Volition and Dr. Bradley Nelson, a 2 times best-selling author. And before we dive in, I'd just like to remind you to tap, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now, welcome to The Advisor. I'm Stacey, and I'm so glad to have you here, Dr. Andrea. You are just amazing, and you have so much great value to share with our audience today. Like some of the things you talk about, it just hits home when it comes to emotional baggage, when it comes to confidence, and all these other things that we all struggle with. Now, before we begin, can you give a big hello to everybody and tell everybody a little about yourself and what you do?
Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Andrea Gleim, and I am a psychologist. I have my own private practice. So I'm the founder of Mindfully Mind Counseling Center, but I also do coaching, and speaking engagements and workshops. And in those workshops and speaking engagements, I like to educate and teach individuals what I know from my psychology background, and from just experiences working with people, different skills and techniques that they can take home and be able to utilize them in their day to day moving forward.
I think that's awesome. Now, what was the trigger that made you realize how outward success can still feel like winning, even though if you're in the wrong game?
So here's the thing, right? How we measure success really depends on the person, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, success can be something that weighs us down, right? And it might not look like what we want it to look like or what we imagined it to look like. And so
Um,
sometimes when we find ourselves in the situations where we are, trying to go for this one goal that we have been trying to work for years, right? That
yeah.
position or that career move or that thing, we get there and then we're like, okay, now what? What do we do
Mhm.
with this? I have worked 5, 10 years of my life, 2 years, 1 year of my life for this particular thing. And now that I'm here, it might not even feel as good
Right.
because we're so focused on, I just want to get there that we forgot the entire journey that led us there. And on
Yeah.
top of that, we have to think about what parts of us did we lose in that process? Does this even matter to us anymore? Are we still living a life aligned with the things that we appreciate in life? Did we smell the roses on the way, right? Are we experiencing life, or are we just putting fast forward on that remote to try to not feel the uncomfortable and just get to the goal? And
Right.
a lot of that it has been, technology makes that easy to do because everything is at the tip of our fingers.
Yeah.
We can get lost on our phones, we can get lost on our electronics, we can get lost in the world around us, and not in a good way. I mean, it's good to get lost in the world around us when we're present, right? When we are at the beach and experiencing, listening to the waves, smelling the salt, smelling the sand, feeling the sand on our toes, feeling the heat, right? Being mindful in that present moment, that's great to get lost in. But when we're
Yeah.
getting lost on just doom scrolling, or we're getting lost on the emails, the emails that will never stop coming in, by the way, they're going to
Yeah.
keep coming in, but we're going to keep getting lost in them, in the next task, and the next thing. Next thing we know, when we stop to look at our lives, we're like, where did the last 5, 10 years go?
Yeah.
That weight can be very heavy.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I've known so many people that have gone through that. And it's like you just look at the one goal, that one specific goal, and you struggle so hard to get there. And then once you went there and you achieved it, it's like, is this really what I want? Was this worth all of this? I sacrificed X, I sacrificed Y, I sacrificed Z. I missed all these years, maybe you were working so hard that you missed out on a lot of things when it came to your kids or things that were meaningful to you. And you're like, was it really worth it? And I've seen so many people go through that.
hmm and sometimes it's you think of it and it's like maybe it wasn't. And this is
Yeah.
where I work with people and I say, okay, values, family. From 0 to 10, where do you feel like that value is for you? And they might say 8. And then
Hmm.
the follow-up question is how you're living your life currently.
Yeah.
Living at an 8, or where from 0 to 10 do you think that you're living in with that
Yeah.
value? And oftentimes it's a lot lower. And
Yeah.
when it's lower, it's like, okay, well, how do we get to that 8? Because
Hmm.
if it's an 8 out of 10, it's important to you, but you're
Yeah.
not living your life aligned to that value. And this is where you feel scattered. This is where you feel burnt out. This is where you feel like your life is like you can't get grab the bull by the horns. Like you feel like your life is in a million directions. And oftentimes it's because you're not living a life aligned to your values. And your value sheet can look very different than someone else's. And that's okay. That is fine. But you don't want to live your life based on someone else's value sheet. You want to live your life based on your value sheet. And that's always very important for people when I'm working with them to be able to get to a point where they can look at their value sheet and say, yeah, I'm living maybe not exactly, but very close to where I want to be. And there
Right.
can be changes. And that value sheet, to be honest with you, can be reevaluated and you might say, well, that's not important to me anymore. That career goal really is not that important to me, or that thing that I was been working for so long is not really that important to me. Well, fantastic. So now let's grab the pen and let's rewrite the narrative and let's redefine what is important to you now.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always it's not black and white. Life is not black and white. Life is very gray.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have to learn how to, navigate the gray dance with our life, sort of say.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. Now, define autopilot versus aligned. In one sentence, how does the listener know which state they're in today?
Autopilot is you are living your life in the same way every day to day feels the same. You're not really finding much enjoyment in things. You're kind of just routine. I always say, like, if you're feeling like you're a hamster on a hamster wheel and you keep
Hmm.
chasing something, but it's just not quite getting there, and you're just on this like repetitive motion and you're just
Yeah.
doing things because you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, that's very autopilot, right? It's
Yeah.
like when you are getting the car and you drive somewhere and you're like, I don't even remember the drive here.
Hmm.
That's autopilot. Being
Yeah.
more aligned feels you feel joy. I'm not saying you don't feel stressed because it's almost impossible to say, well, we're going to be stress free. I would love to be stress free. I think that, we learn to navigate the stressors and we start to feel joy and we start to notice what are the things that bring us joy? What are the things that bring light to our life? And when we lean into that, we're
Yeah.
living more aligned. But when we are on this autopilot, that's when we know that things need to shift because again 5 years can pass by and you don't even realize what happened.
Yeah. Oh, so true. So true. Now, what are the body and calendar clues that fatigue, that overscheduling, that someone's operating from survival mode and they're not thriving?
You said it best. It's like that fatigue. It's that mental exhaustion, right? We use screens so often. And when we start to experience that screen fatigue and we don't get up and walk away, no, we just push through. Let's not push through. Respect your body, respect that your mind and that your body's telling you, I think that you need to walk away because you're going to be more productive if you do, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, don't. We just try to push through, push through, push through. The thing is that eventually our body is going to tell you, okay, well, you're not doing it for yourself. I'm going to force you to do it now.
Hmm.
And when we get to that point, now we're starting to see different things. Now we're starting to see that we're getting sick or that that we're not feeling that great. And things do become a little bit more difficult. Well, now your body's forcing you to take that sleep, take that nap. Now it's
Yeah.
forcing you to just kind of slow down.
Right.
So headaches, right? We tend to get headaches or, our bodies just start to physically tell us like something's off. Those are things that we want to lean into. We want to listen to our bodies a lot, right?
Yeah.
Emotions. Our bodies physically respond to emotion, right? So if we're
Hmm.
feeling angry, we could probably sense that we're getting there, right? You know,
Yeah.
we might feel like a rush of heat in our body, maybe our ears get a little red and a little hot,
Right.
right? We tend to feel emotions. And so when we learn to build that awareness around our body and how our body is reacting to our emotions, we start to navigate those things better. So we have to learn how to navigate stressors. And if we're feeling burnt out, if we're feeling like wow, we just slept 8 hours and we are still tired.
Yeah.
Something's off, something's happening, right?
Hmm.
We want to lean into that and pay attention to our bodies because our bodies do speak to us. We just don't always listen.
That's true. That's so true. I always say that our bodies are always talking to us all the time, but we
Mhm.
don't take a moment to listen. And it gives us signals. It talks to us. You get thoughts in your brain or your certain parts of your body aren't reacting the way they should be, or you get that fatigue like you were mentioning. These are all signs. This is your body talking to you, telling you like what it needs. And if we don't listen to it, like you said, we're just going to collapse and we're just not going to be our full potential. We're just going to not be able to. I don't even think joy is going to be part of the game because I think really, when you do so much of that over stress and and you burn out your body, there is no joy in life. You lose that purpose, like you were mentioning early on. And that happens to so many people.
I tell people if you're kind of feeling like your shoulders are tensed up and they're up to your ears all the time, something's got to change.
Yeah.
Imagine what it would feel like waking up in the morning and just feeling your shoulders back
Yeah.
down, feeling this separation between your shoulders and your ears.
Right.
What does that feel like? What does that look like? And
Right.
if you can lean into that, then you can start making small changes. Small changes, step by step, will lead to bigger changes. And when you look back, you're going to see the difference between where you started and where you are.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you say mindful leaders start with identity. What changes when leaders ask, who am I being before what am I doing?
So I think one of the things that I want to mention is I've worked a lot with um, women leaders, and a lot of how we lead might look different, right? And
Mhm.
when we walk into a room and there aren't a lot of people that look like us, we might
Mhm.
feel like we need to overcompensate to be in that room. When the
Yeah,
reality is that everything you've done to get into that room was you did exactly what you needed to. You got into that room for a reason, right?
yes.
And so one of the things when I work with leaders, it's being able to identify that someone might not agree with your leadership style. That doesn't mean it's not effective.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean you need to change it. It's a
Hmm.
moment for someone criticizes your leadership style, take a step back and say, okay, what is this person saying? Are they saying it from their experience or are
Right,
they because there's actually something wrong with how I'm leading? But when you
right.
can lead into your identity and say, this is how I navigate issues or concerns at work, or this is how I navigate my
Yes.
team. This is how I can help my team get from where they are to where they want to be. This is just my way of navigating it. When we can
Yeah.
tap into our strengths as people,
Hmm.
we can be better leaders. But when
Yes.
we are tapping into what we think someone else wants us to tap into, or what someone else has
Mhm.
told us to tap into, we lose authenticity. At
Yeah.
that point, we're creating a version of ourselves that doesn't really exist.
Hmm.
Where does that lead us? Back into that autopilot, back into that feeling like we're just this hamster in a hamster wheel and we're living the life that we have been told that we're supposed to do. We're leading the way that we're told that we're supposed to lead instead of genuinely diving into your strengths as a leader.
Right.
Your identity is your superpower. Dive into it and learn how to navigate the room with that authenticity.
I love it. I love it. That's exactly how someone should view their life when they're walking into a room, especially sometimes it can be so intimidating when you walk into a room
Mhm.
full of leaders and then you see high achievers in a room and all of a sudden you start self-doubting yourself or you start getting nervous or you feel that pit in your stomach, that just, and you start, am I good enough to be here? And you start, all these thoughts start coming into your head and that immediately will show in your body language. And then
Absolutely.
you won't speak the way you normally would speak. It's taking that step back, I think, and really being able to have that identity check. And can you walk us through like a 2-minute identity check, like a leader, what they can do before a meeting or before a big decision, and they have to really express themselves, and they have all these people around them listening to them. Is there something they can do so they can make sure that they're at their best?
So one of the things that I always advise people before going into a meeting if you have the opportunity to have a 2-minute break in between things, I know people's schedules are back to back, back to back. I understand. But if you're able to take those 2 minutes before going in and take it to just breathe,
Yes.
give yourself an affirmation, right?
Hmm.
And I always say put it on a sticky note, put it on your phone, have it be your background, have something so that you can read it, you can take deep breaths, you can remind yourself of the great leader that you are and the person that you
Yeah.
are that got you into that room, right?
Mhm.
Your voice is worth being heard. You
Yes.
have something important and of quality to say. When you believe that and you own that, it comes out, that confidence comes out. But when you start to doubt yourself, that's like when you were saying, like your body language starts to change, your voice starts to get lower. And then
Hmm.
it impacts how people are going to view you. Inevitably, it's all psychology. If we can
Yes.
walk into the room and feel confident and be confident, people will see that because the energy that we're putting out into that room is, wow, this person's really confident. They know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Is if we're doubting ourselves, if we doubt ourselves, why should someone else listen to us?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
to remember, take your 2 minutes, take your deep breaths, read your affirmation, and go in knowing that what you have to say is worth listening.
I love that. I love that. You could easily even go into the bathroom and you could just
Mhm.
like, you could just do it right there and then just come out and then, and you're set.
Go into the bathroom stall, do what you need to do, meditate a little bit in there, and then walk out, wash your hands, take it in, and say, "Okay, I'm ready." But
Exactly.
those small little things makes all the difference. And when you're intentional about those little things, you things change. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
But you have to, you have to do it. You have to be intentional about doing them.
I love that. I love that. And what's the one belief that high achievers carry that accidentally keeps them burned out?
They don't ask for help. Asking for help means I'm vulnerable. Asking for
Yeah.
help means I don't know how to do it. Sometimes asking for
Hmm.
help is equated to failure.
Hmm.
But asking for help might be exactly the thing that you need to succeed even more so.
Yes.
When we're burnt out, we have blind spots.
Hmm.
We ask for help, it helps navigate those blind spots because now somebody else can see things that maybe we can't see. When we
Exactly.
ask for help, we can accomplish a lot more. We just need to learn that asking for help doesn't mean that we can't do it. We can do
Hmm.
anything, right? But the thing is
Right.
that when you're burnt out, when you're fatigued, when things are just not adding up, you're going to put that as if it's a failure on yourself. And by
Hmm.
that time, it might be a little too late to throw the lifesaver because you're already in this state of mind. You're already in this place where it's hard to see past it.
Yeah.
But when you're able to say, okay, listen, I know myself, I've been checking in, I'm not 100%, I need this help, and you're proactive about asking for it, one,
Hmm.
so that finish that task a lot faster. And two, you can get blind spots that you might not have necessarily seen. You get feedback. You can take that information and develop even, a better strategy or come up with a better plan to navigate that task or that project that you have looming over you.
Right. I
Asking
love
for
that.
Asking for help is a superpower.
Yes, and you know what? I've met so many people, I've spoken to so many people, and I even went through it myself as when I was younger. People, especially if they feel a sense of independence, hate to ask for help, and when you get to that point when you finally realize it's okay, life changes for you. But there are so many people out there that find it like a weakness. Or they're an inconvenience. That's big one that I hear. I don't want to be an inconvenience. That's why
Convenience
I don't
to
ask for
people.
help. Hmm.
There's a lot of reasons, right? Like, and it's that inconvenience or that feeling of like, I'm going to be a bother, or can I trust that this person's going to, really help me out? And like, yeah, there takes a little bit of vulnerability to ask for help and being able to navigate those waters, especially if it's not something that you're used to. But it's essential. It's really
Yeah.
essential to be able to get to where you want. It's
Yeah.
essential to reach those goals, to complete tasks, to navigate, for example, if you're leaving a corporate job to become an entrepreneur, well, that's scary and that's
Yeah.
a lot. But also,
Hmm.
if you're doing that move and you're taking everything on your own, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure at that point.
Yeah.
Lean in, ask people around you, create that genuine, I always say, if you create your genuine, authentic village around you,
Yeah.
right? Like the board of directors of your life who can
Hmm.
navigate and tell you, genuinely ask you, hey, are you okay? Not the surface level, are you okay? But the genuinely ask you, hey, are you okay? And you can feel like, I can absolutely tell this person, no, I've had a rough going these past couple of days or weeks or
Yeah.
whatever. You can be authentic with that person and be genuine and kind of have these barriers pulled down, then that's a person that you want in your village. That's a person that you want on your board of directors because those are the type of people that are going to support you and be there for you for those transitions, right? They're not there just for the success. They're there for the journey. They're there for when you're not feeling so great. They're there to pick you up when you don't even believe in yourself sometimes. So it's always
Exactly.
important to have that village, that authentic village that you can lean into and be like, I need you right now.
Hmm. Oh, that's so true. And that's a great way of looking at it because people have to just learn that, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can't, and if you think about it from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, if you can't do anything by yourself, all by yourself. Eventually you will just either stay stagnant or you'll just fall and you won't achieve the things you want to achieve in life. Nobody can do everything. And I think once people realize that and they realize that it's okay, that's why people have employees, that's why people have help, around them because they realize I can't do it all. We don't, and we're not equipped to. My strengths might be your weaknesses might be my strengths. You need other people to help you. You need that help, in all areas of your life. Definitely, definitely. Now, can you share a micro practice, like 90 seconds, that reliably moves people out of their threat mode into clarity?
So again, I love this mindfulness technique, and it goes on into a little bit of that imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon,
Hmm.
where we start to like think, no, we can't do this. I always tell people, take a step back, take a deep
Hmm.
breath, name that thought, right? First, name your imposter phenomenon, right? Mine is Gretchen. So Gretchen sometimes lurks in and starts to tell me I can't do something. So I just take a step back and I sit and I say, okay, what are you trying to say to me? And then I realize it's just a thought. It's a thought that might be trying to protect me. It's a thought that might be, maybe comes out of fear, comes out of doubt, whatever it may be. It's coming from something that it's trying to protect me,
Right.
right? But it also leaves me in my comfort zone. And there's not a lot of expansion in my comfort zone. So then I put that thought on a cloud. I imagine
Hmm.
a nice cloud. I'm laying on the beach. I'm seeing these clouds, and I'm like, okay, let me put that thought on that cloud. Let
Hmm.
me see it go away.
Right.
Because it's just a thought and it can float away. And if that thought
Yes.
doesn't come back, I put it right back on that cloud and I watch it go away. Because honestly, those thoughts are going to be the thing that are going to stop you. But if we learn to just accept them, don't fight them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Don't fight them too much. Just accept them as for what they are. They're just thoughts. They're not your reality. They're just things that you're
Mhm.
thinking, things that live in your head.
Yeah.
Come on there, watch them float away on a cloud and bring out the sun and think of that sun shining bright and start to think about what is your next move and what do you want to do to get out of your comfort zone. Do that thing that it is that you've been wanting to do for a long time or that goal, whatever that may look like. So I always say thoughts on a cloud. They're just thoughts, put them on a cloud, let them float away.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, how do you coach confidence as a trainable state and not a personality trait?
So what I work with people is them learning to think about the things that they are when people do gratitude lists, they always think
Hmm.
about, well, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my children, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And that's always great. I love that you have those things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Rarely does the person say, I'm grateful for this strength of mine. I I am grateful for this thing that I'm really good at, or, this thing that I care about so much. Rarely does that happen.
Right.
So I help people navigate from looking outwards into looking inwards
I like
and
that.
really processing who do you like, what are your strengths from the inside? What do you
Hmm.
like about yourself?
Right.
Oftentimes we don't think about those things. We don't think about we criticize ourselves a lot
Yeah,
more than when we need to. We are, you
exactly.
know, we're sometimes our biggest criticizers and our worst enemy because we will
Yes.
criticize everything about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Rarely do we sit there and say, you know what, I killed that interview today, or I killed that presentation today, or I did
Yeah.
awesome. You know what, I showed up today for my children, for my family. I did this. Rarely do we give ourselves the kudos that we deserve. And rarely
Oh,
do we
yeah.
go in and think about, this is you. You did this. You
Yeah.
accomplished this. You maybe did it with a team, and whatever that team may be, whether it's your partner, whether it's your family, whether it's friends, whoever that is, but you led that directive. You did that.
Right.
When we can start learning how to really find that appreciation on who we are as people and our
Yeah.
strengths, our confidence comes after that. But it's
Right.
really a mindset shift. We have to start being able to change the mindset of not negative filtering who we are
Hmm.
as people, but really leaning into the positive things about ourselves.
Yes. And that's so true because we are our worst critics. Most of the time we are so hard on ourselves, and a lot of the imperfections we see, people don't even notice, but we notice and we pick on ourselves, and we cause more of the problems, more of the low self-esteem and this and that. A lot of those things are us. When we start to like who we are and we start to love who we are and we start to really let go of the baggage and live in the present, and then and really focus on who we want to be and not focus on what we can do better, and that not like the imperfections, and not like hone on that, but hone on all right, this is who I am now, this is where I want to be. Okay, what can I do now to get to step C, instead of going backwards.
I think there's also this essence of when we tend to people please, we have to be
Yes.
very strong, strong in setting our boundaries around that. Because
Mhm.
when we start to people please, we kind of lose ourselves in that process, right? And
Yeah.
so, we start to evolve into what that person is going to say or what that person. So we have to learn how to be comfortable also with we might get criticized by somebody else. We
Hmm.
might. And that's just
Yeah.
human, right? People are going to criticize other people, right? And then, that's
Yeah.
more of a them thing because then they're also struggling with their own battles that we don't get to see and that we don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but the reality is that pleasing them isn't going to bring us joy. Pleasing
Right.
them isn't going to bring us happiness and
Hmm.
satisfaction or
Right.
living more aligned. If anything, it's going to make us live a life disaligned, unalignment, because we're not going to
Yeah.
be really operating from a place of deep down, this is what I want for me. Deep down, this is what is going to bring me joy. Deep down, this
Right.
is how I'm going to feel satisfied with my life.
Yes.
So, being very mindful of, am I people pleasing when I do this? Or do I need to set a boundary for myself so that I don't do that?
Exactly. And I see that happen all the time. And people, they get worn out and they're so worried that the other person is not going to accept them or like them, or, or they're going to make that person sad, and they take it to heart, and they just, but
Mhm.
then they're not living their life. They're living the other person's life. And like you said, I think that was a great point. When people say things about you or they criticize you, it's not you that criticize, and they have their own issues, and it's really about them. It's not about you, it's about them. And I think when you start to think about that, then you start to really change your perspective of thinking. And it's like, you know what, they may have said X, Y, and Z, but it's not my problem. They're dealing with their own issues, and I'm not going to let it get to me.
Exactly.
I really think that's like an important point. Now, what are the silent taxes of success, like relationships, health, creativity, leaders that don't notice until it's too late?
So, yes, relationships, right? When we are going for a goal, when we're trying to transform our lives, when we're going for that career goal, that next step, that next thing, sometimes what that means is we might not have a 9 to 5. We might be
Mhm.
waking up first thing in the morning, going through our phones, reading this, reading that. But meanwhile, we have a partner there with us, or we have children who need to get ready in the morning, or we have, whatever that may be, right? Families, friends. When we get so lost in the goal itself and not really in the journey
Yeah.
getting there, we tend to have the loss of those relationships. We give a little bit less to those relationships. And let me
Yeah.
bring those values, right? What may
Hmm.
be of value to you may not be of value to somebody else. So if, being in a relationship or having, a family of your own, or, have just being around your family and your friends is not of high value to you, then that's fine, because then, okay, yeah, you're living your life the way that you want to. But when it is getting in the way of that, of really nourishing relationships, of really nurturing the things around you, because
Hmm.
when it's all said and done, right? You're not taking your job with you. When you're
Right.
90 years old, hopefully, I mean, unlike my grandmother, hopefully at 90 you're retired. My grandmother has her bakery and she's still going there. So, all power to her. That brings her joy at this point in her life.
Uh-huh.
When you're 90 and you look back at your life, what do you want to remember? Do you want to remember
Yeah.
how many hours you put into a job? Or do you want to think about, wow, I did that, or I
Hmm.
experienced that? Or do you remember when we did this? That joy, those memories, those are the things that you probably going to want to lean into more when you're at
Yeah.
that age, right? Um,
Yeah.
and these are the times when you're younger is the times to do those things. The thing is that also keep in mind that we can change the narrative, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Past is already, in Sharpie, black, red, purple, yellow, orange, whatever Sharpie color you want to go by. It's already in Sharpie.
Yeah.
But you can take the pen now and change that future. You can
Yeah.
rewrite it the way that you want it. And the
Hmm.
beauty is that just because it's written, even if it hasn't happened yet, right? Like you might look at it and be like, okay, in 5 years, I want to do this. And you write it in pen.
Hmm.
2 years down the line, you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. You know what? Then rip the page out, crumble it up, throw it out, and now take the pen and rewrite what it is that you do want. That is the
Right.
life. There's going to be different hurdles. There's going to be different detours. There's going to be crossroads that we're going to go through. And life is going to throw things at us that are going to change our perspective of life, of people, of those around us. When we're younger, we think about popularity and we want numbers. We want quantity of people
Yeah.
around us. And the older you get, you realize that quantity doesn't buy you quality.
Yes.
And the quality of one person around you can be the quantity of 10
Yes.
with a lot less stress.
Right.
Okay.
That is
So
very true. Yes.
So
Mhm.
being able to understand that part of life is very important, and being able to be flexible with life, because
Yeah.
experiences are going to change us, and every step forward that we take, we're going to bring the past with us. So that's why I say we can't change that. It comes with us, but we
Yeah.
get to choose how we want to do that next step.
Hmm.
And so it's
Yes.
always constantly, redirecting and self-reflection that really helps us to get to the point where we feel comfortable with making changes that we want.
Yeah. And I love the scenario where you say just, just take that Sharpie, get a different color, and then, rip that page out and rewrite it, and it could be that simple. People make things so complex. Life doesn't have to be as complex as people make it. It can be very easy if we let it, not everything's going to be easy, of course, but there are some things in life where we stress ourselves out to the bone and we really don't have to. It's not necessary. Things, if we just make things a little bit easier for ourselves in certain situations, we can. We just rewrite it in a different color, and just throw out the other page. And there's so many things in life that we could do that, but we choose not to sometimes. And why, I don't know. Maybe because we're humans and that's just the way we're wired. But if we take that bad habit and we rewire it into a better habit, like doing it like you said, life could be a whole different world for us, a new ball game for
I mean,
sure.
sometimes I think that what gets in our way is the feeling that if we don't, if this is something that we wanted and then we don't get it, or we decide we don't want it anymore, does that make us a failure? Does that make us a
Hmm.
fraud?
Right,
And those thoughts now overpower what's really important. What's really
right.
important is you to be happy when you wake up in the morning with the life that you're living, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
not having the things cost you, right? What are those actions? What is holding on to that action? Like what is that costing you? Is it
Yeah.
costing you the relationships? Is it costing you your peace of mind? Is it costing you your health? Is it
Yeah.
costing you being able to get up and do your favorite hobby? Often
Right.
I ask people all the time, what's your favorite hobby? When was the last time you did it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh, it's been years.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that one day becomes two, two becomes three, and the next thing you know, years have passed by from the
Right.
last time that we did something that really brought us that joy that we really enjoyed doing before.
Yeah.
Because life gets busy. Life is always going to get busy.
Right.
And there's always going to be things added to our lives, into our schedules, into things, but we have to be very intentional about
Yeah.
making time for ourselves and whatever that
Hmm.
looks like, whether, that is taking a walk, it in the afternoon and or at night or in the morning, or if it is, going to play basketball, or if it is, going out to get a manicure, whatever that looks like for people.
Yeah.
Be intentional about scheduling that in because if that's the thing that brings you joy and peace, then do
Hmm.
that. But you have to
Yes.
be intentional.
Yes. 100%. And I love the excuse so many people give is I don't have time. We have time. We could make time. That's
Mhm.
just another excuse and not to do it, you know. But everybody has the time because when you really want something, do you really make the time when you really want something? Then all of a sudden you know how to make the time, when it's something you really want. Sometimes we have to really think of priorities and what's best for us and what really is going to make us happy in life. And we can make the time.
And the power of saying no. We might
Yes.
have to say no to some things in the process of really chasing what it is that we want, or really, being finding enjoyment in our lives. Sometimes that means that we're going to have to say no to some things, or some say no to things that are not that important. And it's okay for things to not be that important. Um,
Yes.
I think that we sometimes stray away from that, but it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's
Yeah.
actually really important to learn to say no.
That's a biggie. I hear people all the time discuss that topic. It is so hard for people to say no to other individuals. They're either fear-based, where, oh, they're not going to like me anymore. They're going to think differently of me, or they're going to be mad at me and blah, 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 blah. But for some reason, it's very hard for people to say no. And then that goes into sometimes the self-love, self-care, and it's, they can't say no to other people. And the last person they put on the list is themselves most of the time.
And also realizing that you can't control certain things, right? Like
Right.
you saying no to someone and them reacting the way that they're going to react, not in your control. You can't
Yeah.
control how people feel, how people, people's decisions, how people react. You have no control over that. What you
Yeah.
can control is, respecting your boundaries. What you can control is saying no. What you can control is checking in with yourself and saying, is this good for me? Is this what I need right now? Or no, I think I need to pass.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Now, if someone's metrics looks great, but they feel empty, what's the first alignment audit that you run?
The first thing I do is what are the things in your life that you feel are missing? Like if you were to wake up tomorrow morning and a miracle happened and you would no longer feel that emptiness, how would you know that that miracle happened?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that isn't a question that people are like, what? Say that again. And I'm like, how would you know? What is going to bring that fulfillment into you?
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, wow, how would I know? And that really taps into, okay, well, what is missing? What do I feel like is not quite there? And then you start to evaluate all the things in your life, all the different aspects of your life,
Yeah,
from your schedule to your career choices to your family to your friendships that you have around you, because sometimes, honestly, it does mean that the people around you might no longer be the people that you need to be around. And that's also a very hard thing for some people to experience and go through and let go. It's not just letting go of old habits. It's not just letting go of old things or old ways of doing things or, letting go of thoughts. It's also sometimes letting go of people. And I
yeah,
find that sometimes is one of the hardest things for people to let go of because
yeah.
we're human. We want the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we're holding on to people that no longer bring us life into our life, right? If we no
Yeah.
longer feel alive around them, then that's it. I think that that's
Yeah.
that's all she wrote, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then that means that we have to start finding people that are more aligned, that community, that sense of, people who like to do the same things that we like to do, people who are, talking about the same things that we're talking about, people who enjoy the things that we enjoy, whether those are books or whether those are podcasts, whether that's, just different life aspects, whether, whatever that is that brings you joy that you love talking about, then you got to
Yeah,
find people who enjoy it just as much. So,
exactly.
I always say you have to kind of take an audit of all the things around you, including the people, and
Yeah.
figuring out whether this is a relationship that you can save or is
Mm-hmm.
this a relationship that kind of just reaches endpoint. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you got to be enemies with the person.
Right.
Absolutely. It just means that the relationship ran its course and it's okay. And that's done. And that person lived that chapter of your life or those chapters of your life, but that doesn't mean that that person needs to enter the other chapters of your life, and that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like, we change as individuals, our priorities change, our goals change, the way we think changes. We definitely, a lot of people, sometimes you wake up one morning and your shoe size, you finally fit into those pair of shoes and you realize what your shoe size is and you start creating boundaries. You figure out who you are as a person, and some people get to that point. Some people it's very difficult, but the people who do, you sometimes look around and like, you know what? The people around me, some of them are good, but some of them just no longer are the right type of people for me to be around. And it's not like there's something wrong with them. It's just, like you said, that chapter's run its course and they may not, be a good idea to bring them into the next chapter with you. And, you can basically, be friends with them. You just don't have to be so close or you don't have to see them as much. And find that group of people, one person, two people, whoever, fits, makes you feel good and be around people who, are going to bring you up and want the same things as you do.
Right. I always like to make this metaphor and, think of ourselves like lotus flowers or just flowers in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we're not in the right environment, like if a flower is planted and it's not in the right environment, like the soil is not great, the amount of water is not right, the fertilizer is not that great, whatever the case may be, if you're not maintaining that flower is going to die. And let's think
Yeah.
about perennials. They come every year, right? That's what they're
Mhm.
perennials. But if you're not taking care of what needs to be taken care of, then eventually that flower is not going to look that great.
Yeah.
And we're that flower. And so you want to
Mhm.
make sure that you're giving yourself the proper, nutrients, energy, sunlight, water, that you are, and all those things are the people, the energies, the messaging, how you talk to yourself, the messages that you are surrounded by the people, how people interact with you, how people treat you,
Mhm.
right? Like all those things are going to be your nutrients, the things that are going to make that flower bloom and blossom and look beautiful. But if
Yeah.
you don't do the right things, it's going to be wilted.
Yes.
Look that great. It's not going to
Hmm.
be as colorful.
Right.
And so be a flower and take care of yourself as a flower. You can be delicate and strong and it's okay and be all those things, but really take care of all those things that are going to bring you that joy, energy, satisfaction. And look, we talked about how, you might feel joy, but you also need to feel sadness and happiness and not so great times. But in order for you to really appreciate joy and happiness, you have to have known what sadness felt like. And you have to
Yeah.
have learned from that situation that put you in that place, whether again, it's certain people that are bringing you down or it's certain situations or certain things. If you can learn from those experiences and take a step back and say, okay, what is life trying to teach me? Because that's another thing. Life is going to teach you the same lesson over and over and over again until you're like, okay, I got it. I learned. I know. So
Yes.
it's going to keep throwing at you the same exact thing in different ways, but it's going to put you in similar situations or experiences until you actually learn from it. So from the uncomfortable situations that you go through, we have to learn.
Yes.
And we have to think about, okay, what do I want to do differently? The next time that life throws me this lemon, what am I going to do with that? What is
Hmm.
different? Who do I need to not maybe have in my life? Like what weeds do I need to kill? What leaves do I need to cut? What
Yeah.
branches do I need to get rid of? Right? Like those
Right.
are really like the things that it's kind of taking an audit of our lives constantly
Yeah.
because we need to make sure that we are in a place that we're thriving.
Yes. 100%. Now, can you give us a 2-week starter plan, like a daily micro practices, one weekly reflection, and one boundary to protect our energy?
So, number one, start your day. Don't look at your phone. That's a boundary, and that is a moment for you to, be mindful and be present with your life. I
Yeah.
always say, if you're a coffee drinker, get up in the morning, make your bed, go to your kitchen, brew your coffee, smell the brewing of your coffee. Get the milk if you drink milk with it, like get it, froth it, whatever that may be, but really enjoy that cup of coffee
Yeah.
and be present. Still don't look at your phone. Don't look at your phone until you're done with that cup of coffee. And that might
Right.
sound like, whoa, when I have my coffee, I'm checking emails, I'm doing this, I'm prepping my day. But see, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Problem is that we're go, go, go always. And the
Um,
little joys in life we don't appreciate. We don't take time for them.
that's so true.
So take that first sip of coffee. And if then after that, after you enjoy that first sip and that taste and everything, and you want to go into your phone, sure. But set a
Yeah.
boundary with yourself with how you're starting your day, how you're
Mhm.
starting your week, right? I always say you have a million things on your to-do list. Fantastic. Categorize them. Do that on a Sunday or I say Sundays because you're looking at your week, right? And then you
Yeah.
can say, okay, these are the things that are priority for Monday. These are the things that are priority for Tuesday. Monday night comes and you're like, all right, these are things that I didn't get to finish today. Well, now they become the first thing that you do on Tuesday. But you know what? You also need to fuel yourself. So enjoy your breakfast, enjoy your morning so that you can set yourself up for success. And so that
Right.
if something comes up, right? Because life is just life and there's things that
Yeah.
we can control and it's going to throw us curveballs all the time. You're in a better state of mind to be able to take those, to be able to handle and manage those things that are coming your way.
Hmm.
One, set the tone for your day. Be mindful of what you're doing in your morning, being boundaried with your phone, with with whatever it is that you do for work, be able to be boundaried because those things are going to still be coming in. The emails are going to be coming in, the text messages are going to be coming in. They're always going to be coming in because we are so accessible. We
Yeah.
are at a time where we are accessible and people want instant gratification. So they send you a text message and they want a response back. Well, guess what? I'm drinking my cup of coffee, so you're going to get a text message when I'm done with my cup of coffee. So that's just how and the thing is that I've learned to be that way because I've had to.
Hmm.
And I find that when people learn those little things in their life that they can really find enjoyment with,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, I always tell people like when you took a shower, the most basic thing that we do on a regular basis, when you took a shower, did you really smell your shampoo? Did you take in how the water felt?
Right.
Because when we're in the shower, we're thinking about the 30 things that we have to do when we get out of the shower. No, no,
Right.
don't think about those things. Think
Hmm.
about the shower. Think about being present. It is probably the only 30 minutes of your day that you're going to be alone, that you're going to be able to be just one with yourself, and you can have privacy. So use
Yeah.
it, utilize it. Don't think about the 30 things that you have to do because when you step out of that shower, then you can flood your brain with all the 30 things that you have to do. But in those 30 minutes, think about just you. That's all that
Wow.
matters in those 30 minutes.
I love that. And I have one more question for you. Like before this show, we were talking about emotional baggage, and we talked about the past, and we talked about, we can't change the past. The past is already, gone, and, it's unchangeable. And I know a lot of people in our audience that listens to our show. The one big thing they're interested in is learning how to let go of that emotional baggage, because it's so easy to say, but it's so hard to do, because even though the past it's gone, we can't change the past. So many people carry all that emotional baggage from their past into the present, and it stops them from really going into the future and being that, reaching their full potential in life and elevating to the level that they actually could elevate to. What's your one tip, or what's your maybe some advice how people could start learning how to actually start learning how to let go of that baggage in their life?
Well, first, I would say the first step is identifying it, right? We all kind of walk with this invisible book bag full of, grains of salt, but, things are, I mean, so super small, but also bricks that are heavy cinder blocks, right? And so first we have to identify what are, the pebbles of our past that are weighing us down. And what are the cinder blocks of our lives that are weighing us down? What are those things? And then take them one by one. Take them out one by one. It's going to get lighter. But if we don't learn to give it the importance it needs, meaning go into it, process it, experience it, I know it's not going to be great. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really uncomfortable. And it's probably going to bring out things inside of you that you are not going to like. And there's probably
Mhm.
going to bring things and memories and emotions and experiences that you would have wanted to leave in the past.
Yeah,
The thing is that working for you? Because I'm pretty sure it's still very much in your present.
right.
So we
I
have to
love.
start to identify them. What are those things? And when we start to release the power that those things have from us, it we don't it doesn't feel as heavy anymore.
Hmm.
That cinder block maybe now became a pebble, and that pebble will eventually become the size of a grain of salt. And so
Hmm.
we're decreasing how much power that thing has over us. But first we got to identify it. First we got to accept that it's there. First we got to acknowledge it.
Exactly.
Not acknowledging it doesn't make it go away. Might make it go away from your mind, but it doesn't make it really go away
Hmm.
because clearly still you're very much in your present. It's still coming with you, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not. And so I'd say identifying it, processing it. What is it? What happened? What did you feel? What part of that experience is causing you this intense feeling and this intense reaction from it? What is
Yeah.
it? What is it about it that I need to let go of? And sometimes it's things that people did to us. And I think that one of the hardest things to do in life is, you know, eh, forgiving someone for something that they never apologized for.
Hmm.
That's hard.
Yeah.
But you have to think about you. Do you want to continue allowing that thing that someone did to you that was not in your control? Whether, it's a breakup, whether it's a heartache, whether, whatever that may thing may be, do you want to be able to continue giving that person that power over you, or do you want to take that power back?
Right.
And the way that you take it back is by forgiving someone that never asked for forgiveness because it's
Yeah.
not for them. It's for you.
Right. I like that. That's great advice. That's great advice. I like that. I know some people put it in, they'll write a letter out and then sometimes they'll just either rip it up or they'll burn it, maybe put it in the fireplace or something like that. Or, they'll just, do little things or they'll write it in a journal and then rip the journal and then, and just shut up the pages like you had mentioned earlier, just with that one crumbling of the notebook page, and so sometimes that psychologically can help also. But I think that's great advice. Now,
And I will say, kind of what you were talking about, like the crumbling, I would say, write it if you're going to write it out. I think that's always great to write things out, write the experience out, and that's how we're acknowledging, right? We're going to write it out. What am I feeling? What is everything? And then read it out loud to yourself because how
Mm,
we experience it when we're writing it versus how we experience when we hear ourselves speaking our own written words is very
yeah.
different.
Hmm.
And that's why I said it's not a one thing, it's not a one action that's going to make everything better. It's a series of actions that are tied together, that are linked together, that are going to get you to a place where you are in a where the weight is a little bit less.
Yeah.
But a lot of it means you're going to get uncomfortable.
Hmm.
You're going to dive in and you got to be ready. You
Yes.
gotta be ready. But focus on how good you're gonna feel afterwards. Like how light are you gonna feel afterwards? Because
Right.
the thing is, we want the outcome, but we know what it's gonna bring out and we
Hmm.
avoid it
Yeah.
because the emotion is intense, because the feeling is heavy. But if we avoid it, we never get to the outcome, which is feeling lighter, which is turning a cinder block into a pebble, into a grain of salt.
Very true. Very true. Now, if you had to take today's conversation and you wanted to emphasize on some important factors, what are some of the things that you want our listeners to remember from our conversation today?
Well, I want them to remember who who they are. Where do they want to be? You know, I think one of the biggest things that I always ask people, and I said it before, is if get to 80, if you get to 90, what do you want to remember of your life today? What do you want to talk about? What are the memories? What are the experiences? Where is it that you are going to feel joy talking about your life?
Hmm.
Start to live a life that's more aligned with those values, with the things that you feel are going to bring you peace, with the things that are going to bring you joy, with the things that are more aligned with who you are as a person. And don't compare your value sheet with somebody else's because that's not living in alignment. That's living a life that from someone else's priorities. That
Yeah.
doesn't your value sheet does not have to look like someone else's.
Right.
And you know what? If it doesn't, good. It shouldn't. It's
Right.
yours. It's authentically
Hmm.
yours. And so live your life authentically you're with yourself. And then also confront the uncomfortable things.
Hmm.
Gain your take your power back from the things that are uncomfortable and the things that you're not trying to face. Because once you
Yeah.
take that power back, things start to feel a little bit lighter.
I love it. I love it. Now, can you tell everybody about the different services that you provide?
So I do provide individual therapy, but I also do coaching and do speaking engagements and workshops. And yeah, that's what I do. And you can find me at Dr. Andrea Gleim on Instagram. And then if there's any updates or anything going on, you will definitely find them there.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. I really appreciate Dr. Andrea, all the information you gave. I hope you'll come back on the show because you're truly amazing. The information that you provided today, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, people are going through these things all the time and they're just stuck because they can't figure out how to get themselves out of it. And you provided a wealth of information today that very simply you could apply to your life. It's not going to, people think, like you said, we come from a world that wants quick gratification, but all these things that you talked about, they're simple steps, but they're not as simple as you think. So they're simple to do, but it's going to take time. And you will, when you're healing, go through a time of pain before you get to the rainbow on the other side. And that's the whole point is being able to acknowledge in life where we are having these issues, be able to confront them, then find in different ways, different therapies and different tactics and strategies to overcome them. And then slowly going through the healing process. And then eventually you'll see that bright rainbow. And once you see that bright rainbow, your life is going to change dramatically.
How
But
you
it's
see life just changes. How you see, how you view people around you, how you view your life completely changes. The things that, once maybe rattled you up, you're going to see like I'm so inner peace is so important to me right now that I'm not going to allow those things to really mess that up. So, and that might be people, or that might be, jobs, or that, whatever that may be. You start to build boundaries. And I don't mean walls. Walls and
Mhm.
boundaries are two different things. But if you
Yeah.
start to set boundaries for yourself and you realize that living peacefully, there's nothing like that. There's
Yes.
absolutely, there's nothing like that. And that doesn't mean that stress isn't going to come knocking on your door, because stress isn't going to go away. But you're living differently. It's a different
Yes,
experience.
100%. Well, this has been amazing, Dr. Andrea. I thank you so much for coming on this show. You are
For having
truly an
me.
amazing individual. I really had a great time, and thank you so much for being you, for helping so many people, and for just, providing so much great advice on our show. Just thank you so much. You're a wealth of joy and inspiration to our show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You have a great day.
You too.